Hi, lovely people. Welcome back to Andertons TV with me, Gabriella Jones, and the one and only Doug Aldrich. I'm so happy.
Hey,
I'm so
Gabby.
happy to see you in person.
Yeah.
So, bit of background. We did already do an interview for the BBC, like last year, I think it was, like a few months back.
That's right. That's right. Last year we did the thing with
Ben Paul.
Yep, Ben. And Ben was awesome. That was cool.
So we were doing the Legends launch where we connect a legend and a new artist. So Ben Paul was our new artist and I think he loved it. We had such a lovely time. But that was on Zoom and I didn't get to see you properly. So this is a proper treat. It's in the flesh and it's got this gorgeous, gorgeous guitar.
Well, this is my travel guitar at the moment. You know, I always bring a guitar on the road and I have one with me carrying it either on my back. Now I'm carrying it in a case because, you know, now it's a little bit difficult to with the airlines, you know.
Yes.
I can tell you some stories. Some of my stories of getting a guitar on board from, you know, throwing tantrums to actually getting kicked off a flight one time.
Or like buying another seat for the guitar.
Well, you know,
some people do.
I mean, but you know, the thing of it is when I've been really lucky to a lot of times on these long haul trips, I'm flying business. So we'll get into all that, but basically,
You're like, my guitar needs a lie down situation as well.
I just want it close by, and I don't want.
Yeah, you want to have your eye on it, don't you?
Yeah.
You just never know.
Well, and plus, you know, if you ship it with the gear, you're not going to see it for a few days. Once you land off in the country wherever you're going, you're going to be. It might be 2 days before you see your guitar again. And what if you got a great idea for a song or something or whatever?
Yeah.
You need it.
You've got the next Here I Go Again at 3 a.m. and you're like, no, I don't have my guitar.
But anyway, I want to tell everybody that Gabriella, I've been a fan of Gabriella. She's been online for a long time, and I've been a big fan of your work.
Thank you.
And I think you're doing awesome. And of course, I love Andertons. I've known those guys forever. So I'm really happy to be here. And it's my first time to meet her. We've known each other online.
Yes, we have. Like, we're very supportive of like everyone and each other's endeavours online, and it's so nice to see you in the flesh and hear you play. It's a weird thing. I don't know if you have this with people that you like look up to or have seen play online, and like you watch people shred and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of know how they play. And there's something so like surreal about when you actually get to watch the person up close.
Yeah,
like just then when you were like practicing before we came on, I was like, wow, Doug,
Well,
this is very good.
Well, I just, you know, I keep trying constantly, you know. That's it. That's what, like, when I started when I was a kid, it's fun to play music. It's fun to play guitar, and you just learn a little something, you know, when you learn, first you're learning the open chords, and then you're learning a bar chord, and it's just like, oh man, that just totally blew my mind, and, you know, and you just go from there. Every day you learn something new, and it's just great. And then, you know, when you get to my age, you forget a lot of that stuff. So then you relearn it and you get excited again.
You're like, and another time around. Bless you. Well, it's interesting. So we've got this little, talk us through what we have here, this cute little Blackstar number.
This is a Blackstar Fly 3, and most of you guys know about Blackstar Fly 3s. It's a great travel amp, and just as long as we're on this topic, I'm going to tell you that they have a Dead Daisies version, which is it's bright red, and but it's just a great sounding. It's just a good sounding amp. It's got some delay in it if you want, and so we got this Dead Daisies one that is actually. One of the coolest features is it's got Bluetooth, so you can pair it with your phone, and then you can be learning songs with
alongside
Bluetooth.
Yeah.
You can play the songs through here, so it's like a speaker and the guitar amp, and it's great for travel.
It's perfect for this kind of setup that we're in now, but also like hotel rooms, or even if you're just at home and you don't want something too loud and you just think, I don't know, maybe you've got like family on the go or different things and you're like, you know what, I just need something quick and close by where I can just get an idea out, then something like this is perfect.
Yeah, it works great, and it's just got a great feel. Even the clean sound is... It's really nice, you know. can play all kinds of different styles with it. But Blackstar, I just recently signed up with Blackstar last year, and I had never really. I mean, I had been with Marshall for years, and I love those guys. They're my mates. I've been, since I was a kid, I played Marshall. Yeah. And then during the time, right before Jim passed away, I met the Blackstar guys. That's when Blackstar started. It was like 2000, I think it was it had been in planning probably for years, but it started around 2004 or something, 5. And I've known those guys the whole time, and they're great. And I've watched them they were hot from the beginning with their amps. And, but I was, I trying to be loyal.
Yeah.
Of course. And I love my Marshalls. I especially love my old ones that I've had forever and used on every record and every tour. But recently got the opportunity to do a partnership with Blackstar, with the Dead Daisies, and they've got our whole back line going now. And they're just amazing. Like I say, I've known them for years. They're my mates. It's another family. It's like these companies like Andertons and Marshall and Blackstar and Gibson. It's all family oriented. They're like, it's like.
And it's such a small world as well. And I think for people that are listening, maybe you're like getting your first like endorsement or something. It's a part of the industry that maybe we can talk about a bit, because I don't think people do share it as much, of kind of, a brand taking you on and maybe nurturing you, and whether it's lending you something for tour or letting you use the artist space or whatever it is. There's actually quite a lot to be said for those relationships. And it sounds like what's cool with the Blackstar connection at the minute is they're allowing you to be creative, and so the look of things is really coming on and really cool and different. The same with what they're doing with Jared James Nichols. There's some really fun ideas. So I think my advice, if it's worth anything, is to, meet people that are going to let you be creative and that you're going to have a long-term relationship with.
Yeah, it's really true. The relationship part of it is very important, and that's who, they want people to play their stuff that really wants their product, that really loves it. And that's really what it came down to. I don't care about making a partnership with somebody, but I really love what they're doing with their amps. So, the first thing was, I know I love the Blackstar amps because I've played them in music shops and stuff. But then they came out with the HT Stage 100 Mark III. It's new last year, I guess, and it's just killer. And it's got all these, aside from the basic raw great sound that you want, it's got it's got the really beautiful clean to it, and it's got this ferocious lead sound that you can do. Whereas in the old days, we used to bring several amps, and you'd switch amps. You'd go like to a clean amp, and then you'd switch to a solo amp or whatever. And this amp's got it all in it. So I really loved it, and here I am.
So I want to talk a little bit, because I think people will be really interested to see what your perspective is on this. So you've played with some incredible people. So you had like the White Snake setup, Dead Daisy setup, Dio setup, people's dream bands. I want to know, when you get the gig and you're looking at your gear, you're like, right, what do I use for this? What was the setup that you went for each of those?
What? Because of where I started and everything, and my influences of who I loved, my setup started, and it was basically always the same sound that I was going for. And I'll tell you what happened. So first, I got a 100-watt top through a 4x12, and then I came out to California when I was 18, and I had just, of course, I was influenced by Iommi and Blackmore and Page and Jeff Beck, of course, and all these people. But then later, newer guys came out, and Randy Rhoads came out, and he had this really cool, wide sound that I loved. Yeah. And so, little by little, through experimentation and talking to other musicians, I found out that basically what you had to do was you had to take one amp and have it be dry, and then you'd have a separate second amp and have it be a little offset with a little delay or a little chorus. and all of a sudden it would just go woof really wide. So one amp is dry and one amp's got some grease on it, and it just gets huge. And so that was in the 80s. That was, you know, my sound. And I used a DOD pedal into a 6-band equalizer with the mids cranked. And then I came out of that with a Y chord that I made. And one side, oh no, first it went into a hush. These were an old unit that would make your signal quiet. And then it came out of the hush with a Y chord that I made. And one side would go directly to a Marshall, and the other side would go to a delay and then to a Marshall. Mm-hmm. Or I think I had a Sun amp at that time for the second amp. And it was a giant sound, and everybody would come up to me like, dude, that sound. And then I replaced the delay with a Lexicon PCM 41, which is a better, you could really dial in the secret number. I think was like 23 milliseconds was like the number of the offset split. Sorry, I'm getting so technical.
No, this is what we want. This is like the secrets that people want to know. They're like, how do I get the sound? So this is exactly what we want.
In the old days, now you can get that sound. You plug right into the amp. You can get this the mid-range boost that I'm talking about with the MXR 6-band, which then I turned into using the a Furman PQ3, and the Furman PQ3 into the Lexicon, and then the Lexicon had a dry out. Very important that it's a dry out, because if both sides are moving, it's too wiggly, it's too wobbly. But if you got one side just straight and the other side moving a little bit, then it's super big. And that was the sound of a lot of people used it, you know, and it started, I think, for me, it was Randy Rhoads was the first one that had it. And I used that same setup with the same Marshall that I bought in 1981. I used that with Dio and Whitesnake and the Dead Daisies and everybody, and until I got my Blackstar, I retired it.
Wow. Okay, so that's great to know. So you kind of found that balance between like the clean and the crunch and the delay, and you're like, that is going to be me now. I've got a wide enough sound. I'm ready to roll with that.
Well, so here's the thing. So that wide sound is great when you're a single guitar player.
Right.
Like playing with Dio was perfect. I actually had wet, dry, wet. So I had 3 cabinets going on the bottom, and I'd have effects on the 2 outside, and the center was totally dry. And so that way the sound man had a dry signal to work with, and he could add these in. You'd have to pan them wide and then he'd add those in as he wanted out front. And that's a big sound. And then you get in Whitesnake, and I was in Whitesnake with Red Beach.
Yeah.
And so you didn't need to have that. And then we had keyboards, and we had, you know, it was a lot of music coming off the stage. So we didn't need it to go wide. So that's when me and Reb both went mono. And so that's like this amp. This is mono. If you had 2 of these and a little delay unit on one of them, that would be stereo. But anyway, so it's been the same rig, and it's the same sound now that I use. It's just a little bit more updated. And now I've got the capability of some of the stuff that Blackstar, people don't talk about. Their R&D department has come up with these great things. Like they have the thing called Cab Rig, which basically emulates the cabinet, and you plug a mic cable into the back of the amp, and it goes to the front of house, and it emulates the speaker. So you actually don't even need microphones. But with the Dead Daisies, the front of house engineer was using microphones and the Cab Rig. And then they've got, you know, separate channels, as I mentioned. They've got some extra EQ called Resonance, which is this nice feel. It just says like a feel thing on the bottom end, and then the presence on the top. And it's a killer amp, you know, right out of the box.
Well, I'm very, very excited to hear this all happen tonight. So we've got Oliver here who's helping today. We're very excited to be going to the Dead Daisies show in Wolverhampton. And I've seen Doug play before with Glenn Hughes.
Yeah.
King of the West Midlands, voice of rock, and it's going to be interesting to see a different setup. And I'm so excited to see the rig on stage. I think that's very cool.
It's you know, I've been getting a lot of compliments. I pay the front of house engineer some extra bucks, and he gives me some extra volume.
Like, louder, please, louder.
I wanted to show you guys actually my live rig, but we just, unfortunately, we were
back to back today.
Yeah, and in different locations.
Maybe I can zoom into it tonight and then try and insert it on the video. I'll be like at the back going,
yeah. Well, you know what? I know that you have VIP credentials at that venue, so
yes,
she could probably be on stage while I'm playing and be taking pictures.
Like 1 second, Doug. Yeah, just need to get some pics. Yeah. So we were talking a little bit on the way over, and I guess this is quite selfish of me just because it's so fun to just have you here playing. I really want to hear you play the riffs that have made you, I guess. I want to hear you play like a riff from when you were a kid and you were playing and you were thinking, I want to get into this stuff. I want to hear maybe, one of the riffs that you're really proud of, that people say, yeah, no, I watched you and now I want to play guitar. And then maybe something that you find challenging, and I know not everyone likes to admit that, but something that like pushes you, like when you play it, you think, oh my God, I know I've got that bit coming where I'm like, like, is this going to be harder?
It's always challenging. Every day is a challenge. I've never had a perfect show in my whole life. It's always, it's like playing golf or something, it's never like every shot is perfect. Mm-hmm. I'm not a golfer, but I just know that it's difficult. And, I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I know I can always do something better. Like I'm going to play for you right now, whatever it might. The first thing I learned was, let me turn this delay down so it's just straight. So first, let me say this. This is a different guitar. It looks like a Les Paul.
Yes.
And Gibson is I love Gibson. My first guitar was a gold top Les Paul. Mm-hmm. I'll talk about it later, but this is a Scala. Leo Scala works with Gibson, and he's kind of like one of their, I don't know if you've seen his work with them, but it's kind of, how do you say it? It's like he does all these one-offs, you know.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and I loved Jeff Beck from the very beginning, and the album Blow by Blow was a big influence on me. Mm-hmm. And he had a 54 Les Paul that had humbuckers, and it was just like a single wrap like this. So I asked Leo Scala, Leo Scala to make a guitar for me that was like that. He actually offered to make a guitar for me, and I said, make one that's like a 54, because I don't have this setup. And so he did this guitar for me, and he called it the Golden Ruby. My daughter's name is Ruby. And
hi, Ruby. Shout out, Ruby.
He put on the back of it, a little skull head with a little ruby in it, and he signed it. Oh,
that is really lovely.
And then Ruby put a little gold star, and she did some
animation.
That is
so cute. Can we see that properly? I'm going to try and get it closer. Ruby, we love your work. My love, you're a pro. That is so cute.
She was learning how to spell her name and all this stuff. And anyway, so this is the guitar I have, but I've been a Les Paul guy my whole life, and then went around the circle with some other companies. And to your point, every time I made a switch, it was only because I was wanting to push myself in some other directions. Yeah. Like I had Gibson, but I always had a Les Paul, but I got to meet Grover Jackson when I moved to Los Angeles, and he invited me into the Jackson family, and it just kind of happened. And it was so cool. He said to me, all right, welcome to the family. I'm not gonna give you 1,000,000 guitars or anything. I want you to learn each guitar. Like every guitar's got a thing about it that is unique, and they all have their strong points or whatever. And so I want you to learn. And then when you need something, I'll help you. And
that's pretty cool. I think that's a bit more genuine as well, isn't it? Because they want to know that you are invested and fully understanding what they do before it's like, oh yeah, here's a load of stuff. It's like, I want to know that you know every inch of this thing.
So that, I went from there. I eventually Grover left Jackson Guitars. I started working with Fender a little bit, but eventually at the end of the 90s, I went back to my Les Paul, and I was just like, that's it. And I was playing with did a tour with the girl Tiffany. Remember Tiffany?
Yeah.
My buddy was playing drums and they needed a guitar player, and I brought my black Les Paul, and I was just fell in love.
I never knew that you did that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't record with her, but we toured, and she wanted to rock it up a little bit, you know. And
they're like, get Doug in.
Yeah, my friend is Chris Frazier. He plays with Foreigner.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you want to do that, let's get my buddy Doug. You know, me and him were tight, and we had done a bunch of fusion stuff at my house just before that. So I went to that, and I fell in love with my black custom that I had since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And my first Les Paul was a gold top that I bought for $300, and I was just blown away. I opened the case, and I was making sure it said Gibson at the top, and then I looked down. I had said to the guy, he goes, I got a gold top for sale. And I was like, is that like the one that Jimmy Page uses? And he goes, I think he said yeah or something, but I thought that Sunburst was actually a gold top.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I looked down and I'm like, what color's that? He goes, it's a gold top. I go, okay, whatever, it's a Gibson, you know? And it turned into, I thought it was actually pretty ugly compared to Jimmy's guitar.
You wanted the Jimmy Page
But, you
moment.
know, it was a Gibson, and I've quickly learned that that's my favorite color of every Les Paul. So I have a bunch of them. I have a bunch of gold tops.
I love the feel of a Les Paul, and I think also because when I'm performing, I'm singing, I'm so used to the weight of it, and like in terms of like where you sing from, it's actually kind of weird singing without one on you in a weird way.
Well, yeah,
it's something I've got used to.
Once you get used to doing your thing with a guitar, if you take it away, it's like, ooh, what do I do?
Yeah, it's like, gotta dance now, gotta boogie. So what I want to really do is get into some playing. People want to hear the mega riffs. Oh my gosh, how loud can we crank this?
That's about it right there. Okay, mega riffs. Let's see. When I was a kid, obviously, you know, I don't really know the right way to play it. Some people do it here.
Yeah.
Some people do it open. When I learned it, it was like this.
Yeah. You bend into it.
I knew 3 chords, and then all of a sudden it was like. I was like, oh my God!
Like, I can play guitar.
So that was the first. Yeah, that was the first thing, and then, you know, little things. I mean, whatever was on the radio, there was all kinds of stuff. There was. And then Zeppelin had. Now, there's always, you know, all these riffs, the way that the original guy played them is the way that they should be played. I play my riffs the way I play them, and when I do somebody else's riff, I'm kind of doing it the best I can. But I mean, I kind of have, I started a style that was like just what worked for me. And one of those things is, and people will notice, like when I'm soloing or playing certain chords, I got the thumb behind the back of the neck. Because I don't know why, it's just I don't have great flexibility. Like, that's my arm straight right there. It doesn't go like, if you do yours, let me see yours. See, yours goes even further the other way. Mine's like locked like that. So same with my joints. Like,
we need to get some yoga. I'm like clicking all over the place.
So for me, sometimes it was easier, you know, sometimes it was easier to play with my thumb above the neck, and sometimes it was easier to play behind the neck, especially getting into some of these these kind of solo things where you're see, I just brought it up above the neck right there. Or certain chords might be up on the neck or here. But then, like, see, I'll switch back and forth. But the reason for that is because I don't have great flexibility. and I couldn't get these stretches up here. My fingers just, I have reasonably big hands, I guess, but just the flexibility.
But then that is your sound. It's like Tony Iommi, bless him, with his little bit of his finger cut off.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that is then your sound.
Yeah,
which is so cool.
So, but like my Jeff Beck, the first thing I think I learned on Jeff Beck Blow by Blow. That's it. So that was one of the first things that I learned from him. We already talked about Ritchie Blackmore. I don't know how Tony played it, but we used to jam on that.
We're in Birmingham, by the way. Yes.
Yeah. So, and then Michael Schenker was another one. But generally, I kind of picked up like...
Do you play rock bottom, Doug?
Now, hold on. Let me try to remember the right notes. No, it's...
Yeah.
Almost. Anyway.
Yes, I love that.
In there. I just don't remember the exact notes, but it's like kind of... There's that. Yeah. I remember the timing of it, but there's like these little half steps that he was doing that I forgot exactly.
That's like one of the first riffs that woke my mind to guitar. When I heard that, I was like, ooh, that is so cool. It was that quick little do-do-do-do. I was like, ooh, yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Now the thing about that is you got to get those bends.
Doug, I think we need to start a UFO tribute band, you and me. Lights out, Doctor. We get everyone going.
I love it. I never got to see Michael play with them, but I have met Michael and jammed with him a couple times, and he's always been super nice to me. And I haven't seen him for quite some time. Last time I saw him, I think, was in 2009, and I went with Whitesnake was on a night off, and we went and saw him, and he was just incredible. Still.
So unique.
But I saw UFO with Paul Chapman. And
cool.
Paul Chapman, do you know Paul Chapman?
Not personally.
No, but you know the name.
Yeah.
And Paul Chapman, he blew my mind. He was great too. And those riffs that Paul Chapman did, they were all really cool. All those UFO records, it's good that you brought it up because sometimes we forget about some of those bands that aren't like the ones that you always think of.
Yeah, well, sometimes as well, you see that these bands are playing, if they are out and about, they're on festival lineups or something, and you think, oh my God, like, why are they not, like all the way up here? And it's people that were pivotal in most musicians' journeys, and not everyone knows about them. And not that, a lot of people, there's going to be people in the comments that are like, Gabby, everyone knows UFO, and I know they do, but there are some people that don't, that go, oh, actually, I didn't realize that was a big influence.
What I learned from Michael Schenker, obviously the mid-range boost, there was a big thing because he did that with the wah-wah.
Yeah.
And he is very particular about his wahs. He would, if you see him in the studio, he'd have like 10 of them, and they're all slightly different, and he wants the specific sound for whatever. But he had that mid-range boost, and so I got the wah from him. But also one of the most important things was is a Mixolydian mode, or the major kind of pentatonic stuff. So like you're playing an E. Right, you're playing an E minor, but Michael Schenker would go. And go back to minor. And then the other thing that he did was, there are these diatonic scales, which you guys all know, probably better than I know them. You probably know them better than me. But the Mixolydian scale, he would do the... So the Mixolydian scale was great, and it was a different flavor. It was really cool. I'll tell you a funny story. Was when I was 18, a lot of people know this. Everyone always asks me this question.
Mm-hmm.
Did you audition for Kiss? And yes, I did. I don't know if you knew that. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know whether to bring it up or not.
Okay, so you knew about it. It's okay. It doesn't. I mean, I love Kiss, and I think their songs are great. But that was really my younger sister had Kiss Alive.
Yeah,
I would sneak into her room. Deal. I would sneak into her room and put the headphones on and listen to it and be like, "Wow, these guys are cool." But my bands was UFO and Van Halen and Ozzy and stuff like that, and I don't know, Deep Purple. Yeah. And but I went to LA and I started playing in a band. I got with these guys, and the drummer Eric Carr came and saw me playing. And he said, "Come down and play." And long story short, I was just a kid, but it was really a confidence boost because I had started to get a little reputation going, and
that's a really big deal. So how old were you at that time? 18. So I'm trying to imagine like 18-year-old Doug going, right, I'm going to audition for Kiss. What did you play?
Well, first I had to learn. Well, I went into the studio and met them, and it was weird because I met them without their makeup, and that was kind of taboo. It was taboo.
Who are you?
Is it really? Yeah. But also, it was just like I had never really been in a studio before like that. And this was the record plant in Los Angeles. It was like a famous place. And so I'm sitting there, I'm kind of afraid to look at Gene in the face, and he's like, "Okay, I want you to play some solos on some of our tracks we're working on." So they put on some of their songs. One of them was War Machine, the song War Machine. And I don't know how it goes. I can't even remember the riff, but it was like, it kind of had this very strange key center that you could play it in A minor, but you could play it in E minor or whatever. And I was kind of
like testing you a bit, I guess. To be like, "Oh, where's he going to go with this?"
I was just like, I found it. I was like, okay, whatever it was E or D or whatever, minor. And Gene goes, "Doug, do you ever play major scales?" And I was like, "What's that?" He goes, "Do, re, mi, fa, so." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, Michael Schenker. I know that. That's how I equated it. Was Michael Schenker used to use more major scales than some of the other guys.
Yeah.
So it was helpful, And then, of course, Van Halen. I can't play like him, but there's definitely little things that I definitely, now thinking back on it, not all this stuff, but like when I do this, and there's a bunch of little legato techniques and stuff going in there, but the basic note choice was something I got off of Eddie, and so that was just my, and like, sometimes like at the end of a song, tonight I'll do it. At the last song, you can look for this. I'll be playing, and I'll go. So I'm doing this kind of a weird diatonic, half diminished type of thing that Eddie did on Eruption. I don't know how to. I don't play that, but I mean that particular thing is just a shape that I think sounds cool.
I think it's inbuilt in all of us from those classic songs, and also if you feel like you're building to a crescendo at the end of the night, I think our memories of like our favourite gigs do end like that. So your brain naturally goes like, right, let's make it big.
I'm trying to stay in the moment. Like I'm not thinking about anything other than what I'm doing at that time, and. You get into a role, you get into a routine sort of on the road, and so you're basically going, okay, I know I did this the other night, I'm going to try something a little different. Sometimes you don't go too far because you want to be able to, make it from point A to point B without.
And you want it to be recognizable for the fans as well, that know every note of these songs, and they're like, well, that one's different this time.
And that's a good point. This thing I just played, it's like it makes no sense, and I'm not thinking about every one of those notes. I'm basically doing muscle memory.
Yeah.
So I end it with a little bit of a normal.
Yeah.
The first part,
it's like coming home.
Yeah. The first part's just kind of half diminished type of thing, but I'm not thinking about all those notes.
Yeah.
And when you hear somebody do this, maybe that when you're thinking about the notes. Maybe that you're thinking about, but this part, not really thinking about all those notes.
Yeah, it's just happening.
It's just kind of like how I think of it is like sometimes I want to start a solo off. With something now, some kind of melody, you know? And then I want to build it, and I start to go, okay, I like where that starts there. Or maybe I want to start it higher. Whatever I end up doing, and then I kind of fine tune it and tweak it there, and I go, it sounds cool, but maybe it needs a little bit of fire in there. So maybe I might go like, I get down here. And maybe it needs, then it needs a melody. Back to the melody. Then it needs more fire. You know what I mean? And then sometimes then the producer, if you're in the studio or whatever, they may say, you don't need all that fire. I remember working on.
That's such a great structural thing for people to learn. By the way, I want to play like Doug. Okay, you need more fire here, a little bit more melody, a little bit more fire. build it.
The best thing now that I think is, when I was a kid, I couldn't do a lot of things that maybe were in my head, but I could figure out a melody that was like. I could get a melody going, and then I'd have a little bit of fire in there, and then, then you start learning all the technique and stuff, and that kind of overtakes it for a while. And I remember sometimes people would be like, "Man, you're just like," and not in a good way. It was like, it's too much. It's too much widdly.
They want a little bit more space.
A little more space, a little bit more, playing to the song. So finally, I'm learning. Finally. There was
I'm getting there.
There was like, now if I work with a producer, it's a blessing. It's a opportunity to work with you, Gabriella Jones. She's the greatest. She's the most coolest, knowledgeable interviewer. This is an opportunity for me to learn her take on it. Like, Gabriella, what do you think about this? And you go, I mean, it's cool. I like that, but I really love that part. Oh, you do? Okay, cool. So I'm going to do more of that. That's what I learned from you. But when I was a kid, I thought I knew it all. It was like the producer would go, let's hear your solo. And I'd play something and it'd be like, what else you got? I'm like, that's the solo.
That's it, Brian.
That's
all I've got today.
Well, no, it's like, I got more, but that's the one I want. It's just what I want.
It's in your mind. Yeah, you want that one.
And so the producer, so I missed opportunities to learn something from somebody.
That's interesting what you said about, not having that entire skill set yet when you've got the vision in your brain for something. And I don't know whether that's something that changes as we get older, but it's kind of like the magical part of when you're first learning an instrument is when your brain for the first time goes, oh, I can imagine something that isn't there yet. Yeah. And that's quite exciting as a child when you're like, oh my gosh, I've just thought of all of these colours in my head and all of these things that I want to exist yet that don't. It's really interesting that you were like, oh, astute. I don't have to do it yet. But there'll be people that are watching, kids that are like, I've got this idea in my head. How am I going to get there? And if you're feeling like, oh, I don't have the skills yet, it comes with time, and you'll be able to bring that vision to fruition.
But that's very astute, because that's the beauty of that's like the pureness. So the pure joy of when you're younger and you're learning stuff and there's no other, like when I was 18, same thing. There was nothing else. I had nothing. I didn't know how to pay a bill, so I had no bills. I waited till I got kicked out, till my phone got cut off, everything, because I'd never paid a bill before.
Yeah.
All I had was a guitar and my dream and it wasn't a dream of being rich or famous. It was a dream of being good enough like the guys that I loved, good like that. I wanted to be good like Randy Rhoads or Eddie Van Halen or Pat Travers or David Gilmour or all these guys come into in the 70s, David Gilmour and Duane Allman and Dickie Betts and the Skinner guys. That stuff is so. It was so, all of it, it was so exciting to learn little things and anyway, so that's when you're pure and you're learning and you're into it and you're pushing yourself and you're getting better and better and better, and there's nothing like that. And as you get more things, you get distracted and you've got bills, you got a job, you got kids, you got this or that, and it's not as more distractions, so it's hard to.
Yeah.
That's why they invented man caves, so we could all go out in their cave and go back to being a kid.
Well, I think that brings me on to another question. Are we okay for time, by the way? They want us out by 5 o'clock. 15 minutes. Okay, cool. I was going to say that's not the time.
Okay.
That's fine. So what I was going to ask you is, the from when you're 18 to now, you have all of these responsibilities, lovely family, touring schedule, this, that, and the other. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are just could be seen as, little bits that are distractions. What's something that comes with the wisdom and all of the loveliness of those experiences that you think you bring to your playing now?
I think just to be a little bit easier on yourself and don't worry, just keep pushing and having fun with it. Keep it, on the fun level is important. You got to try to be good and stuff, but
try to be good, guys. That's the message from today. Just try to be good.
We should, because when we were driving over here, you said I should talk a little bit about
Dio. Yes.
Dio. Yeah. And Ronnie was he was so great because he pulled the best out of everybody he worked with. And
that is a skill. Not everyone's easy to work with as well, so that is a skill.
Well, he would say, make it grand, or do, I think you should take people somewhere, take them somewhere that they didn't expect to go, and stuff like that. And I remember there was a couple solos when I was recording with him that he was like super excited.
Yeah, you can see
I could see he was happy with it, and he trusted me in the end. At first I went in to record with him and it was like joining a family. Yeah. It's similar with the Dead Daisies, but with Dio, I was younger, and I rolled up with my guitars and my amps, and I opened my car and I was grabbing an amp, and some big guy comes behind me and says, "Don't touch that, that's my job, you're the guitar player." And I'm like, okay, cool. And it was like really like
a different vibe.
Like I'm the little brother that my job is to play guitar, and that's his job is to carry the amps.
Yeah.
And don't let me mess up my fingers, because Ronnie will get pissed, if I mess up my fingers. And it was really cool. So I'm sitting there in the studio recording, and Ronnie's just sitting in front of me the whole time playing crossword puzzles. And I'd do something, and I'd play something, and he would be like, I go, "Ronnie, what do you think?" He goes, "Huh?" I go, "Listen to this. What do you think?" He goes, "Sounds great." Maybe.
It's like, I'm trying to spell xylophone.
Yeah, right.
Can you do something that impresses me and takes me off my crossword?
But yeah, he really brought the best out of me, and he pushed me, and he loved to rehearse. He loved the whole process of getting ready for a tour with him was like 6 weeks.
Wow, okay.
So we would go in rehearsal every day and play, and we were so freaking tight when we got out of there. And I had conversations with him like, "Okay, Ronnie, I'm playing our songs that we recorded together, but I'm also playing some of Vivian's stuff and some of Tony's stuff and some of Richie Blackmore's stuff. How close do I need to be?" And he's like, "You got to play the main melodies, but do it your way."
Yeah,
so
put your spin on it.
Fortunately, one of my biggest influences is Gary Moore, and I love the fire that Gary brought, the fierceness, you know, that's that solo where he went. I'm a little rusty right now, but it's.
Wow!
That's what Gary did, and it was this just ferociousness.
Full of fire.
Yeah, and so anyway, that stuff was similar to the way that Vivian played. Vivian was a big fan of Gary Moore, so the Vivian stuff was pretty.
So there's like a common thread really that ran throughout what you guys were doing.
With Gary Moore, that I love Gary Moore's blues stuff, of course. Yeah. His tone, nobody has that front pickup, you know. And his just everything, it was just beautiful, you know. But then he had that ferocious part, and that's a lot of what Vivian was doing on the Holy Diver, and then the next record. So that was pretty good. And then going into Whitesnake, John Sykes also loved Gary Moore. So David and I I knew about the old Whitesnake before it was actually kind of popular in the U.S. I knew about the early Whitesnake records. So when David found that out, he was like, okay, I think it's great. You know, I want you to play or whatever. But the way that thing with Whitesnake went down was I was on tour with Dio, and Ronnie came to me and he goes, there's going to be people coming to get you.
To get you?
Yeah, like coming to take you.
Wow.
And I was like, it sounds scary, right?
Yeah, it's like a rock and roll kidnapping.
Well, wait a minute. The scariest one that Ronnie ever told was he was at the studio where they recorded Long Live Rock and Roll. And Richie wasn't there, but they found a Ouija board up in the attic, and you know what a Ouija board is? Yeah. And they started playing with a shot glass, and it spelled out they were trying to talk to, you know, spirits, and it said this guy named Ball, Baal, comes up, and Ronnie goes, I never will ever touch a Ouija board again, because we did it that night, and he said, who are we talking to? And it spelled out Baal. Oh and then it said, what do you want? And it spelled out, the glass started flipping around the table and going underneath the table and flips it back over, and then it spells out Blackmore, Blackmore.
No, that's
and then because Blackmore wasn't there, and then they said, well, what are we going to be able to finish this record? No. And it's like, well,
so why has this ghost got such an attitude?
So they were trying to finish the song Gates of Babylon, which is one of my all-time favorite Rainbow songs, and I got to play that with Ronnie at the Astoria in London, Holy Diver live, and I was sweating it. But anyway, I keep jumping all over the place. Let me calm down. Sorry,
I'm just getting over the fear of a Doug Aldrich ghost story involving.
Okay, so
I want Blackmore.
Well, at the end,
we should put this out on Halloween. It'll really freak people out.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because my mom, when I played her the Dio record that I played on, she goes, that sounds like Halloween music, honey. Why don't you play something real sweet? You know, and I'm
like, a bit summery. Yeah.
But let me finish one point during this frickin' interview.
No, people will love this. These are the stories that people want.
But so Ronnie said on the album that he gave the credits, thanks to so-and-so, thanks to so-and-so, thanks to this one, that one, my mom, blah, 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 dad. And no thanks to Ball at the end, the guy that kept making them mess up the recording of.
That is weird.
But so Ronnie said to me, back to my story, he said, Ronnie, people are going to come, someone's going to come and try and take you. And he was talking about other bands or whatever. And all of a sudden we're touring with Deep Purple, and I go out to watch some Deep Purple, and somebody from their crew says, hey, Coverdale's been watching you, filming you. And I was like, what? And at some point, somebody said that Whitesnake was going to go on tour, and it was going to be him and John Sykes. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. You know, that's going to be great. And then all of a sudden he called me and he goes, I want you to be in the band. I go, well, you know I play lead guitar for Ronnie, so why do you want me if you got John? He goes, well, I want you. I'm not doing it with John. And I love Sykes. He's a great dude, and he's a friend of mine. And but I was like, okay.
When David calls,
well, David said,
you answer.
He goes, I got a 2-month tour, and I want you to do it. And I said, well, let me talk to Ronnie, and I'll come back to you. I think I can do it. I think it's good. He goes, Douglas, when you get rid of the word think, then you call me back, young lad, or whatever, sweet prince. When you get rid of the word, I think I'll join Whitesnake. So
I'm going to start calling people my prince now. My prince.
Or darling. You love darling.
Darling, my prince. Gosh.
But yeah, so then I joined Whitesnake, and me and David, I mean, I'm so proud of that period. We wrote 30 songs together, and I co-produced with him, co-wrote all those songs. And there's a couple, of course, I loved what I learned from Whitesnake, the early Whitesnake, was like, and these minor 7 chords. And you can do that anywhere. It doesn't sound like Fool for Your Lovin', but it's the same thing. And I just always loved that minor 7 sound, and I love those riffs. So one of the riffs I came up with was the title track to Good to Be Bad, which I played it for David, and it was just basically like... And then he goes, well, Douglas, that sounds very nice, but what are you thinking? I'm like, tell me, baby. And I started, I just said, tell me, baby, what's on your mind? And then he goes, oh, I like that. He's sitting right behind me in my studio at my house, and he started singing it in full voice. And he goes, play it again.
Full David.
And he did full David, and I was just like, holy shit. And it was just incredible. And that was the start of our writing process. Was just like, we just got on a roll. And
it's nice because it sounds like, because you've got such an in-depth knowledge of all of the other guitarists that you work with and the music that came before. It's like you do a respectful nod to it in like a really classy, gentle way, and then you go, hold my drink. I'm gonna put some fire all over this, and that's what's really nice.
Cool. Hold my drink.
Yeah, because you've got like the respectful bit of like, I know what my task is here, I know the brief, and then it's like, and I'm gonna add all this fire to it.
That's really interesting. I'm learning a lot from you about some. Are you a psychology major, or something like that?
I did do psychology at school, but not at university.
She's getting.
We're getting all the bits out. Bless you. Well, I wish we could talk to you forever, but we are actually going to get booted out of the building.
Okay.
Which is a shame.
Okay, well let me show something for people, because these little things.
Show your best bits, because I am a bit worried that we're going to get booted out.
It's more about a technique that I want to show people that really is so important to me, and it's something that's kind of Gary Moore-ish, but basically it's just I'm as you probably guessed and figured out by now, I'm in E flat. And so like this technique of it's 6 notes, and I would just go, there's all these different things people do, but for me this it just turned into everything you can do. All these things that are so basically it's all based off of this 4 or 6 note thing, which is picking down, picking up, picking down. Let me see. No, it's pulling off. So picking, pulling off, hammer. That's 6 notes. Or it could just be. And so that turns into. these different things. You can see that same technique I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you can go. So it's just a little legato technique that really served me well. And maybe a place to practice it would just be like down low. Say like in G, you just go. Watch my right hand. Anyway, it's something that maybe can help you, give you something that you can work on, and it's kind of a Gary Moore type thing. So I just turned into his influence. Worked into my style.
I like that, and I think that's a really nice takeaway from everyone. Amongst all of the amazing things that you've said, I really don't know how we're going to edit this down. I might just have to put out a full 40-minute thing.
Well, I want to edit down. Don't take out the good parts where I played good, because you can take out some of the bad.
Just be good.
Okay.
Just be good. But I think an important takeaway from all of this is to have a foundation that you can rely on time and time again, and then add the fire. And I think that's something fun that we can take away from Doug. Foundation and fire, Doug Aldrich.
Hold my glass.
Hold my drink. We've nailed it.
Hey, I want to thank you, and thanks to Andertons. You guys are a family, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know that you're back to back now, and the gigs are ongoing. I know you've got shows coming from Newcastle, Cardiff, you're everywhere, and I can't wait to see the show tonight.
I've been very blessed to be able to come to the UK, and it's, if you told me when I was a kid that I was going to be sitting here with you in, where are we?
We're in Birmingham. The 0121.
And by the way, speaking of takeaway, tonight should be a curry night.
Yeah, having a curry. Oh, what is your curry order? What do you get?
You're not going to be impressed.
You know what? I'm quite tame when it comes to curry, so try me.
Yeah, I'm tame too. I'm going chicken tikka marsala.
Chicken tikka marsala, good. Yeah, that's right.
She's going boring.
No, I'm even more boring. I just get a butter chicken. And some nice rice and a naan bread and some poppadoms and all the bits. Let us know in the comments what your curry order is.
Dio would have gone for it. He always would get the vindaloo every time.
Really?
Well, and that's the problem, because that stuff burns your tummy.
Dio would get the vindaloo. And then sing like that.
He would get the
vindaloo. It's like a fire-breathing dragon. Is that normal?
He would get the vindaloo after the show.
I was going to say. That would be wild. Well, bless you. I didn't think we'd end up talking about curry today, but that's the fun thing about this. You get to know the person, get to know their curry order. And next time people order, they'll be thinking of Doug. Beautiful.
Thanks, guys.
See you next time.